Hi, I'm Julie Brown, fabric buyer and wholesale manager at Mart.
Hi, I'm Melissa Watson, a designer for the McCall Pattern Company and a fitting specialist for Palmer Pletch. You're joining us for the Fabric Mart Fit Along. I wanted to ask you, Julie, how did you hear about the Palmer Pletch tissue fitting method?
I heard about it through Pamela Leggett of Pamela's Patterns, and she introduced me to the Palmer Pletch tissue fitting method because I was explaining to her how frustrated I was with patterns and my handmade garments not turning out correctly. So she encouraged me to take the 4-day intensive class.
That's so intense.
It was very intense, but I learned so much, and it was the greatest thing that I've ever done for my sewing experience. And Pamela then introduced me to you.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really great connection because we're two young sewists that are just looking to take sewing to the next level and inspire other young sewers out there.
Yeah, and I think getting a great fit can definitely encourage people to sew more and get more into it.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure you're wondering, what is this tissue fitting method? My mom, Patty Palmer, actually developed it about 30 years ago with her colleagues, and they have been perfecting it ever since. She's written books, done patterns, all surrounded with this tissue fitting method. Now, what the method is we actually take the tissue and pin it together, prepare it, and fit the tissue on your body. And the tissue kind of tells you what you're gonna do. So what you see is really what you'll get. And we will show you how to make those alterations from what the tissue tells you, and we'll show you how to spot what you need to do on your body. And Julie's gonna be my beautiful assistant today. So the supplies that you're gonna need for your tissue fitting are a straight ruler. I like my clear ruler, 2-inch. It has the grid on it, so it's easy for alterations. An armhole curve and a French curve. A 1/2-inch Scotch tape in a dispenser. A tape measure, straight sewing pins, an array of different colored markers. I use one color for marking the stitching line and another color for doing the alterations with. Scissors, paper scissors, and a chalk. Chalk is great for marking your darts and pleats when you do your fabric fitting. Now, the first step in getting the right fit with the tissue fitting method is picking the right size. So I'm gonna measure Julie, and I'm gonna show you how to do that. So the first and most important step of the Palmer Pletch tissue fitting method is getting the right size. Now, we take the high bust measurement on the bust line on the back of your pattern. So I'm going to take her high bust measurement and then choose her size from the bust line. Now, to take the high bust measurement, I'm going to take the measuring tape, and you're going to lift your arms, thank you. And we're going to go behind or under, right at her shoulder blades in the back, and then around and up and over her bust in the front. So she is 35.5, and we pull this snug. This is a skin measurement. She's 35.5 on her high bust measurement. So that is between a 12 and a 14. So we are going to take the smaller size on the back of the pattern if you're between sizes. So the pieces that I need to prepare for tissue fitting are the front bodice, back bodice, sleeve, skirt back, and the skirt front, which you can see I've already pinned the side seams together. Now, I've also already marked the 5/8 inch stitching line, and I just use my clear ruler right here, and you just follow the edge of the pattern to mark that stitching line all the way around. And I used a red pen for that one. You mark your shoulder, armhole, side seam of the front, same with the back. On the sleeve, you'll mark the underarm seam, and on the skirt, you will mark the side seam, the waistband, also mark the waistband on your front and back. You need to tape the underarm of the pattern on the inside of the stitching line, And use small little pieces of tape all the way around the armhole. And this is going to secure the pattern around the armhole. You're going to tape all the way up. Great. And now I'm going to clip to the tape, but not through the tape. I don't need to go all the way up to the shoulder seam, but just in the curviest part, because this is going to help you get the pattern all the way on your body. If you didn't clip these, then you wouldn't be able to get it all the way on. And now I'm just testing that the tape is not ripping, and we're good there. And you do that to the front and the back armhole. I've already done the back. And now you're just going to pin your pattern together. So make sure that you remember to pin the pleats in the front of this pattern and the back dart, and then you're just going to pin the wrong sides together. So what you're going to do here, and I'll show you on the side seam of the front and the back, is wrong sides together, so the seam allowance is sticking to the outside. Is you're going to take your first pin, and on the stitching line of the armhole, of the underarm armhole and the side seam, that's where you're going to put your first pin, and you're going to face it down because you don't want to stick Julie in her armpit. That wouldn't be very comfortable. So I'll keep pinning down through the side. Now, a little tip if you want to do it is you don't have to mark the front and the back side seams. If you just mark one side, then you can just pin through and you'll know that it is taken 5/8. Now I'm just going to finish pinning the shoulder seam and the rest of the bodice together, and we'll try on the bodice. We're ready for tissue fitting.
Another really important part of the fitting process is choosing the right fabric. Today I'm going to be sharing with you the fabrics that we're going to be making this garment out of. This pattern calls for a stable knit to be used, so I'm going to go over a couple stable knits that you can use for this pattern. This top one is a ponte knit. It's a double knit weave. It's just heftier and it has a good stretch and recovery. As you stretch it, it recovers back to its original shape. You can also use a jacquard double knit, and that's what we're going to be using today in the pattern that Melissa's going to be fitting me in. A jacquard double knit is almost like a jacquard woven, except it's a knit and it stretches, and a jacquard basically is a design woven into the fabric rather than printed on the surface. You can also see that it has some really good stretch and recovery. And then one last option is a scuba knit. A scuba knit has a smooth surface. It's just like a double knit. It's thick, sturdy, has good stretch and recovery as well. There's a couple of fabrics that you probably should stay away from, but it doesn't mean that you can't use them. You just would have to do specific alterations to your pattern. This is a sweater knit, and it is sort of like a jersey, just made with like sweater-like yarns. This is a rayon jersey knit. Again, this is probably best for t-shirts, and it does have a good stretch and recovery, but it's just a really lightweight knit that probably isn't best for some of the details that are in this pattern. And then lastly, we have a ITY knit, which is means interlock twist yarn, and it's basically like a jersey knit. It has good stretch and recovery, but it just has a really slick, slinky feel to it, and it's pretty lightweight, so it's going to lay sort of flat on your body. Again, you can try any of these other options. You just have to do specific alterations to your pattern. Now I'm going to briefly talk about stretch versus no stretch. We want to make sure that your pattern, that your fabric has stretch in it, because otherwise the stretch it'll make your garment kind of look frumpy on you. So I'm going to hold the edge of this fabric at this line, and then I'm also going to hold it at this line. And when you pull on it, you can see that it didn't make its way back to this line. This is 100% cotton knit, so this is not the kind of stretch choice that you'd want to make for this garment. This white fabric here, I'm going to hold on this line and hold here at this line, and when I stretch it, you can see it recovers back really well to that line. That means that this fabric has Lycra in it and is probably more suitable. These are both jerseys, so you wouldn't want to use the jersey, but this little example is just to show you when you're using the double knits, you want to do that little test to make sure that your fabric has stretch or not. Hi, I'm Julie Brown, and you're watching the Fabric Mart Fit Along.